Hello, this is Hannah Yoon for her midterm project. I think I'm going to start with testing my code. So, sorry. I opened my terminal and I'll run the program. So, for my input validation, I made sure to check for characters and for negative numbers. Let's just go with the 1 now. And then just for simplicity, let's check again for a negative number, again for a long character, and then we'll just go with 2 because I don't want to input too many. Monthly mortgage/rent, 120, 100. I think we'll aim to go overall under budget here and then have like a couple that are over budget just to show how much we are going to do here. Say 290, 100. I'm just going to input all of these values real quick for each of the 100, 90 over 100, 80 over 100, 60 over 100, 120 over 100, 70 over 100, maintenance cost 200, 300, 200, 100. Alright, so after inputting all my programs, it showed me my total expenses, which was $1,970. My total budget, which was $2,000. The categories that I exceeded, which were the mortgage/rent, the renovation, and the groceries, which is accurate to what I submitted, to what I wrote here. And then it showed me how much money I saved overall, which is $30, and is the correct difference between the budget expenses. To go through my program, I started off by including IO streams, so I could use input using cin and cout, and I chose not to include vectors here because I didn't need set position for anything. And then I used namespace standard to let me use standard library names without the std colon. So first, I have a function that checks for the validity of each month. There is a while loop that runs while the value that the user enters for month is less than 1 and greater than 12, which makes sure that sin.fail, which makes sure that that the type can be converted to an integer, which makes sure that the month is an integer value less than that is between 1 or 12 to represent each of the months. I do something similar for check validity, where it validates the dollar inputs and makes sure they are above 0. So the function actually runs while it is less than 0 or while the user inputs a value that can't be converted to a double, like a character, like the one before. And I didn't mention this in the other one, but I should probably say it now. When the user puts in an invalid input, like a character, it triggers this sin.fail, which is true. So it uses sin.clear to reset the error, and then sin.ignore to remove the bad input. And then it asks the user for another input, and this keeps on going on until the user puts a valid amount that is both above 0 and not a character or some other random data type, and then it returns that value back to the program. My third function is a simple one that just takes in the amount spent, the budget, and the category, and then sees whether or not the amount spent was greater than the budget, and then it just displays that, this category exceeded the budget. Some quick decisions I want to say here is that I choose integer because each month is just an integer value, and each integer from 1 to 12 represents a month. And then I chose doubles because we only need to go to the 10th decimal place, second decimal place, and double is fine for that. So in my main function, I start by initializing my integer values to hold the starting and ending month. And then I ask the user to input the starting month, receive the user input for the starting month, checks the validity of the starting month, and I repeat that process for the ending month as well. And then I take the difference between the ending month and the starting month to find the specified time range. Something I could have done better here is I could have made sure that the ending month is bigger than the starting month, but I didn't. I wanted to get the program done faster. And then for the double mortgage and mortgage budget, it initializes double variables to hold the values for the mortgage spending and budget. And this happens for both this is the same for both the mortgage / rent and the home insurance. And then this whole chunk here initializes double variables to hold total expenses, told the totals for the expenses and budget of the utilities, and this one does the same but for food costs. Now what this giant loop does is that it loops through each of the months and asks the user each month for the amount they spent on their utilities and food costs, as well as their budget for each of one of them. And as they go, oh wait, I noticed a typo, one sec. The variables, for the user inputs a variable, one of the variables initialized in the loop here, and then it gets added to the running total, which is eventually used to calculate the totals later on in the function. This happens for each one of the utilities, and each input is validated using the check validity of the dollar, which is for the amounts. We scroll down to the bottom, and it asks you to enter the total maintenance repair and the total renovation costs, which are both a total at the end of the period, which is just the user input and is put into the function to make sure that they are valid. I think I forgot to mention here, but the parameters here is an integer value of the month, and it takes in the argument of the user input of the month, where this one is the parameter is the double amount, and it takes in the user input of the amount. I'm sorry that this is all over the place. And then finally, back down here, it calculates the totals for the expenses with a constant rate, such as insurance and mortgage, and it calculates them based on month count. But for the utilities and the food costs, they were all calculated. For utility budgets and the food costs, they were already calculated. The totals are already calculated up there for the restaurant and grocery budget totals, so I'm not going to do anything down here with those. But then for the utilities, I'm adding together all of the totals for the various different utilities into just the one utility total and the utility budget total. This adds together all of the expenses, and this one adds together all of the budget ones for variables. And here it just displays a bunch of, this one displays the header for the overall expense summaries. This one shows the budget, the total expense. This one shows the total budget. And then this one displays a header for the categories over budget, and this one calls each function to check budget with the amount spent, the amount that was budgeted for, and the category that it was for. And then, as we saw earlier, it'll input the ones that we went over for. Finally, it sees whether or not the total amount spent was less than the total budget, and if it was, it finds the difference and displays to the user that they saved the difference overall. And if they didn't, it'll say that there's no savings, and then the expenses exceeded the total budget, and then it returns 0 for the main function. And that is all. Thank you.